Live. Make sure we got some audio. This should be some recursive audio. I'm going to test it, though. Say something, Xavier. Make sure we got some audio. This should be some recursive audio. I'm going to test it, though. Say something, Xavier. Make sure we got some audio.
You guys hear me
out there? Yep, we're live now. I think we got it.
We're live. Episode 41?
41 of these? Does that sound right? Can I math?
Sounds right. Sounds about right.
I'm stretching. It's early for us. This isn't late. I'm still popping my back and doing all this fun stuff here. We have a hard stop, folks. Just so you know, the channel goes dead at, what do you say, 12:45? Is that good time for you?
I mean, that's pushing it, but yeah, 12:45 is fair.
Yeah, by 12:40, man, we're winding down and, echo.
We got to take off. We love you guys, but life.
How do we cancel the echo? Oh, a little echo. Someone likes the echo.
Someone likes the echo.
We'll figure out how to get rid of that later.
It could be that Tom is coming through the speaker that's sitting right there with the microphone that's right here.
I'll fix that by turning you down.
Turn me down.
That should fix the echo.
There we go.
All right. Now we're actually live.
Welcome.
This feels like, the old times when I used to go, how does this thing work?
Yeah. Cheers to getting it right.
Tough to get it right. Headphones would solve the echo, but I'm not going headphones right now. Anyways.
Yeah. I had the ear set in yesterday, but I feel like the quality just goes to crap.
Yeah, I don't like the ears. These microphones are way better, but then if I have headphones, because it's these speakers pushing back to this is where the problem is. Yep, so everyone said it's gone now. I had you up kind of loud.
There you go. Awesome.
All right, so this is How They Got Hacked, episode 41. I am Tom Lawrence.
My name is Xavier D. Johnson.
And this is How They Got Hacked. We were not as much on time. Last night got away from us. This morning, life happens occasionally. We get tied up on business engagements and all that fun stuff. And but we want to bring you a show today. Like I said, we have a hard stop. We'll say at 12:40, just make sure we give Xavier time. We have a few stories to go through. We're going to start probably doing more of these remote, though. And part of it was we spent some time setting this up and making sure it works. I know I do interviews and I record, but I never do interviews live. So this is the first time I'm doing an interview style setup live.
That is exciting.
Yeah. So that's exciting. We have a lot of notes for you. Also, because I'm on my computer, we can do that. So you'll see the screen switch back and forth.
Oh, wow. Nice. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And not going to be in this episode, but me and Xavier are talking. One of the other things we're going to be able to do is pull over things like if we want to do a demo of something. Not going to happen today. We didn't prep anything for you. But if we do it this way, I think we can actually add... You don't get us in studio, but you will get us with easier access to more things. I think there's going to be some opportunity where we can actually hack back and forth live, and that might be kind of fun.
Yeah, especially when we're, we're usually at computers, but this is like my main thing. All the stuff's in the back, as you guys can tell.
Yep, all the stuff's in the back and everything else. My stuff's still down the hallway, but either way. Actually, speaking of this, I'm going to bring this one up first because I'm not going to read the entire legal brief, but I think this is kind of interesting. So this is the first time, and you're going to see a lot more of this. It's happening more now. This court ruling, although it's a state court, not the federal courts, it's going to set a precedence here. And what the precedence is the internet. This is from my friend Skip sent this to me. He did some analysis on it. So it's a data breach decision issued late last month by the Supreme Court of Georgia. Attackers accessed approximately 200,000 patient records at the clinic. Some of the patients filed a class action lawsuits alleging negligence on the part of the clinic. The lower courts dismissed the case lacking any legal cognizable injury. And this is actually something really important. If there's no injury to the party, this has come up in a lot of data incidents. If you weren't injured by this, as in they didn't lose your credit card, they couldn't actionably prove that something happened to your personal data, you don't get to sue them. But this is where ransomware, when the ransom goes unpaid, some of them are now turning ransomware into extortionware. And that's what happened here. The attackers said, all right, fine, you don't pay the ransom. We have the data, so we're now going to start extorting people with all this medical data. And that was what set the court in motion to go, no, now that is damages to yourself. Now you can class action sue them, sue the clinic. So that's a trend we talked about the last couple episodes is when ransoms go unpaid, they flip over to extortion because they want their money one way or another. So extorting it's the next level to get it. That being said, it takes a long time for court cases. This one just got heard, which means this all happened quite a while ago, probably a year or two ago. So now there's a bunch of court cases probably being filed for everyone who's being ransomed and then extorted now. And in another year, we're going to have a lot more rulings in a lot of different states on the same topic. But it's all about setting the precedence on it.
That's super interesting. Yeah, that is, that makes sense. I mean, once you get to the point where someone's misusing the data, then
Well, and this came up with we had a few phone calls from one of the dental breaches they caught, because I did a video and talked about it as a topic that brought people calling me. And when they called me, they said, well, we were told that the dental breach was not a HIPAA breach. It's just an encryption tool. And I'm like, no. Someone touched the data. So by the letter of the law, and what people are trying to do is trying to mitigate, because the IT company that lost control of things and was responsible for the breach, they don't want to have to say it was a HIPAA breach. And no one else, we don't want more lawyers and more paperwork, so how do we mitigate this? But the reality is someone touched the data, and this is that final nail in the coffin. Yeah, now they're extorting it. So they're not just touching the data. They are exfiltrating it. They are taking pieces of it, throwing it up wherever to cause damage and extortion. So I thought it was kind of an interesting ruling on there. So this is the other side.
That's intense.
Now, I will bring up one other thing, because I may do a separate video on this topic and dive a little deeper, but the IT company is not named. And that's something not everyone realizes. Even if the IT companies are involved, they're not named. The responsibility is always for the business that was breached. Then the business is breached, the chain goes, they sue the IT company. So the people who were affected, the patients of this clinic, they sue the clinic. The clinic has to face a lawsuit. Then the clinic countersues based on this, going, well, we paid these guys to keep things secure, and they didn't, so now we're going to sue them. So if anyone's ever curious, I've talked to a couple lawyers about how the chain of events happens. And then if that company's tools were good, but then someone else that they bought from, the tooling they bought was insecure, well, now they're going to sue them.
Or if somebody didn't do their job, they're going to get fired.
And there's going to be a whole chain of disaster. So it's an interesting case, because once we start seeing rulings on it, that's once it's ransomware is in our legal system now, and it's not just the courts getting ransomed. So let's see this one, deep dive into the Citrix ADC remote code execution. Did you have a chance to really dig into this at all, the vulnerability analysis on it?
No, actually I didn't.
So short answer is it took this person very little time to go from the Citrix admitting it's exploited in the wild, them looking at what the CVE said. They went in here and were able to very quickly go, wow, we can upload files to it and it'll start executing them. And they walk through step by step and put together the whole how to do the remote code execution. Citrix released a mitigation to prevent, but we strongly recommend that any Citrix users apply this with immediate priority. And the reason that's brought up is I think the Twitter status, I'll drag over as well, is this. This is why. So this is in the last few days. This is from the SAN ISC. Yep, they're seeing lots of it. This was just tweeted on January 10th. So fresh news here.
Yesterday. There you go.
Yep. So from exploit to that, we have a fun breakdown and disaster.
There you go. Causing somebody some havoc over the weekend.
Yeah, someone's got some havoc trying to get all these things in there. United States government funded phones with pre-installed unremovable malware.
Oh my God, yeah, of course, right? In the hood, we call these Obama phones. And
That's
Obama phones, we always knew that they had malware on them. There's no way that you're giving us free Android phones. Come on now.
the thing is, I think it's who's benefiting was the big question. And I do laugh because those Obama phone signs are everywhere.
I know, right? And you know what? And in this case, the people that benefited seem to be offshore.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and cheers. It's after 12 o'clock, so I got my little tequila.
So yeah, that's they have a whole breakdown over here on the Malwarebytes blog. It's an unremovable
it's a really interesting one. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, not just pre-install, but unremovable is the part that I thought was really particularly
of course,
shitty.
Now it's removable if you have Malwarebytes.
Yeah, well, they had to get some publicity and a good reason for you to buy Malwarebytes. So there's no.
And no, we are not sponsored by Malwarebytes.
No, but they do some good security research, and sometimes that's the way you get your. I think that's why Kaspersky stepped up their game. They got unpopular for a while, but they've stepped up their research game. So their names in the news all the time. We've cited some of their articles, and they're damn good. They did their homework doing the research. Yep. So that makes a huge difference. So it's next on the list. Or did you? What did you think of it? Do you have another?
I haven't really dug into it. I've been hearing about it. But I would say it seems that, and we're talking about the
Chinese,
the Chinese phones, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it looks like the Chinese, somewhere in China, and I always say the Chinese government because the Chinese government owns half of everything, right, in China. Mm-hmm. And it seems like this whole entire campaign was around ads. So it's like, and it seems like they've only really been noticing it since the spring of last year. So who knows how long it's really been going and what kind of ads? We've been hearing these things about malicious ads, right? Like, how else could, I don't know. Then when you look at the way that permissions work in Android and you look at what permissions this gives.
Yeah, it needs all the permissions.
Too. Yeah. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. We'll jump over to the next article here, though. The Iranian hackers have been password spraying the U.S. power grid.
Oh, yeah.
That's not too surprising.
Of course. They have been for years now.
And that's how I feel. They've been doing this for a while, so it's not like it's something really new. I think the only risk we're really facing is how many footholds do they have that we don't know about. And this goes for any company, and there's always hackers with footholds. And they're usually using them for reconnaissance or waiting for the right buyer for those. So I think what happens is when there's a reason, all of a sudden, things get kicked into high gear. Those exploits is someone's like, I've had a foothold, but nobody wanted it. Oh, crap, look, these Iranians really, really want my exploit. They suddenly go, hey, you have a foothold in that? It's worth this much now. So I think we're probably seeing the marketplace churn. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And all the stuff that was sitting around for some open source intelligence, some reconnaissance, and just sitting there listening goes malicious. Because listening is more valuable. You don't burn an asset that you have unless you have a reason. And if that reason is to cause chaos, that's a reason. But before, the reason was, why cause chaos now? If we tip our hat that we have this, they're going to root it out in an isolated incident. But maybe they're scaling up for a coordinated attack and they burn a lot of assets at once that they have access to. It could get interesting.
App33 has been extremely potent, even though Iranian hackers aren't seen to be like, top level. You got to think about who Iran's allies are and where their interest lies, the kind of business that they do globally. The Chinese and the Russians have very, very strong cyber program. And what we found is that App33 has they've penetrated our grid almost over a year ago, if not more than a year ago, before, as well as they downed that U.S. drone. Remember that?
Yep.
So they've been pretty. Yep. They've gone pretty hard for quite the time. I'm really interested to see how far they go. We did strike them first with Stuxnet. They haven't had a Stuxnet-like attack on us yet. They haven't had a Stuxnet as far as we know. So,
and I think that's what the bigger deal is going to be. Is that's probably the thing that started it. Like the Stuxnet kicked it off, And then from there, they're like, okay, now we started building it up. And that's been a number of years ago, like 10, 12 years ago, Stuxnet. So now they built it up. And from, listening to the Dark Knight Diaries, they seem to have really upped their game when it comes to social engineering. Yep. And that is compromising people that's the level where you just burn through every firewall right away.
It makes me feel like, okay, so like their password spraying, that's like one of the loudest things you can possibly do. Incident responders of all levels recognize password spraying and know how to handle that.
Yeah.
So what are you actually doing? If you're, distracting people over here, what are you doing over here? Like that seems to be like a diversion almost. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. It's not the quiet, calm approach. It's the loud approach.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know.
Very loud.
Very loud. We'll see about there. Let's see. Brief analysis, and we're going to call it Script Kitty here. Let me drag it
Good
over.
Old .gov's getting pwned since the 80s.
Yeah. This feels completely Script Kitty-ish. It was also created with Adobe Photoshop CS6 from 2015, old version Adobe. All kinds of. Someone took the time to dig into a little bit, but it's actually not a particular interesting one, and it doesn't really appear to go that much deeper. And what does the FDLP.gov even do? I don't even know what section. Federal Depository Library. They hacked the library. This is the most boring thing you could have done, but at least it got the news, and it got the news people something to talk about. I think that made them happy.
When you're hacking, you'll take what you can get.
Yeah, that's what it is. It made the news. And who knows if it was even them? Some script could have been just sitting around with with access to it and going, well, no one would notice if I hacked the library. Oh, look, if I say it's Iranian, it would get me in the news. So I don't feel, was it even them? I don't know.
Right. And where's the incentive to hack into .gov and going live?
Yeah. And just put some BS picture up on a library website like it's Mozilla Foundation Security Advisory 2020-03. This is out in the wild too. This is a update. If you're watching this on Firefox right now, update it if you haven't.
Update.
Yeah, it's fixed in Firefox 72.0.1, marked as critical, and definitely out in the wild. You looked into this a little bit, didn't you?
Yep, just a touch. There's not a whole lot of information out on it, but looks like, with any type confusion, you can do some damage. You can overwrite memory. You can potentially get secrets, all types of stuff when you start to mess around with types.
Definitely a lot of little the browser attacks we're going to keep seeing more of. It's one of those things in security. I see people still super concerned about some sections of it, but I'm like, browser attacks and phishing emails. Those are still your two big ones, because that's the thing that's cutting through. No matter how good of a firewall I put in, how good of a system I put in at the front end to protect your network, or how segment your network is, that's the attack vector they're going to try and use, is the attack that faces the internet. That's where your biggest surface is. And browsers, man, they'll run you can run Doom in them, man. I mean, they're a whole operating system in a browser. It's just a matter of memory overruns and things like that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's pretty intense. I mean, we're talking about a 0-day that was out in the world that has been burned effectively. This was announced January 8th that they were actually out exploiting this in the wild. So
yeah, so it's out there.
Stuff. Yep.
Now, if you don't mind installing a Chinese application TicTok on your phone, and I'll admit there's some amusement from watching the TikTok videos, but there's also some security concerns for it. And apparently, TikTok, they have a whole way you can delete the videos and everything else because of the way the links are sent. So this was kind of clever. This is over at Checkpoint Security Research.
Yep.
But if you send an SMS from a TikTok user server with the malicious link, and what they're doing is they can basically reverse engineer by grabbing the link ID of the video and send it to the user. And because that user's logged into their account, it passes through and sets the settings on their TikTok videos just through his link spoofing. Is that correct how that works?
So basically what happens is the way that the TikTok application works, they allow you to craft an SMS message to send your friends. They allow you to be able to send a link to your friends using SMS, and you can actually spoof that link so it looks like it's coming directly from TikTok on behalf of TikTok. But then when they click the button, it actually takes them to some malicious thing.
Yeah, it looks like here they were using essentially like some URL manipulation. And because your session's logged in, it would let you manipulate. I think I remember you playing with this a while ago, some goofy stuff you were doing on Facebook maybe 2 years ago when I first met you, where you could drop something on Facebook and change a link because I was logged in on my session. It would pull different things.
Yes. There's another thing that where we had a bug that would allow us to mark you online or offline, mark us online or offline. We had the ability to be able to view profile ads before. There's all types of bugs in Facebook still to this day. These bugs, we try and tell Facebook about these bugs all the time, and they're like,
yeah, so they don't prioritize all of them. And what a lot of it comes down to is because, and this is, it's a kind of like a session hijack, because if you understand the way they form their sessions, and then you don't have access because you don't have my session token, but then you get me to click a link and it manipulates my logged in session tokens. This is actually how similar attacks have worked against a lot of these consumer firewalls where people got in because they click the link, but when inside their network, that link goes to their firewall and will inject something into it. You can't do that from the outside, do it from the inside. There's a lot of little attacks. It's a great spot to look for different ways to
it's almost like server side request forgery, but using the client, right? So what happens is like you can, with applications, they have their own schema. You know how you have an HTTP:// and an HTTPS://? Well, apps sometimes will have like, TikTok:// or Musically:// or Google:// and they'll have these URIs that allow you to be able to interact with their API. And if you pass the, depending on if you know their API, maybe this campaign was just used to get certain followers to get boosted. Maybe this campaign was used to, potentially delete a certain message that a person wants deleted. If you spoof and make it look like something's coming from TikTok, and that's the trusted source, and they click it, and it goes over to Instagram and deletes something with the ID of a certain ID. Now the evidence is removed for whatever reason, and you've gotten the person to take an action that they didn't think that they were taking by abusing the trust that they have for another application, because that application actually has a flaw that allows you to manipulate the messages that it sends. It's classic man in the middle.
Yeah, and so it's also interesting because Facebook had this for a while. You maybe think about it where it's a hack, but it's used for marketing purposes. The auto liking of Facebook pages. I've seen a lot of people bury that code in their website. What it does is, because Facebook removed this feature, but you go to someone's website and they realize you're logged into Facebook on another tab, they would allow you to auto like any of their pages. So just by visiting their page, it would auto like. Chrome removed this ability too. So there's updates to the browser that did it. As far as I know, Firefox never allowed it because they don't allow the session cookies to go across. Same with Safari. They have some more restrictive session cookie permission issues. But a few years ago, that was a great way to do it. You could always get someone to like your page by visiting your page.
Yep. And I also have something called Facebook Container now.
Yeah.
And you'll be surprised how many sites are still being tracked by Facebook tracking.
Yes.
Because the moment you put that like button on there, that, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're automatically liking them. But Facebook now knows as an advertiser where you've been, and they want to drop that cookie and put more cookies and,
Yeah, I still have on my website, and if anyone wants to call me out on it, I'll call myself out. I have a Facebook pixel on my site that tracks.
There you go.
To me, if you're bringing that data with you, I'm going to track it. That's one of the reasons when people ask like why I use Chrome, I'm like, I use Chrome for my business. I use Chrome for what I do for work. I have a separate browser where I never log into Facebook. That's where I do other things. That way, there's a clear separation to me.
Exactly. And I do this over a multitude of devices as well. Not only that, but I do it over a multitude of devices. And even on certain devices, I have different disks and partitions.
Yeah.
Everything is not for every device.
Yeah. And that's, you silo yourself off like that. And it makes your Opsec easier more than anything else.
Like,
you have to spend less time.
Like, this is my hack top. Like, this is what I use
to
do that. Like, and this particular partition of that is where, this type of stuff happens. And, this one may be fully encrypted using Lux, and this one may just be like laying out in the wind because who cares? That's just like that's my place where I just do stuff.
Exactly. And that's why, I go far with like my game. I have a gaming computer at home. It does run Windows. That's completely, I never log into the same things on there. Matter of fact, I don't even log into my business or my email on it. I cheat because I have a remote session to it. When I put passwords in, I remote session and paste them in through my other computer. So I never even load my password manager on it because it's a gaming system. And so someone in the chat room said, good luck explaining siloing to normal users.
Right.
We know it, and it's not for everyone. Not everyone has to do it. Not everyone's doing what me and Xavier are doing. So it's not necessarily. It's a personal choice whether or not you want to be more privacy oriented or not. That's just
it gets interesting when you got like somebody hunting you down because you stopped them from getting paid.
That's a whole other topic. A whole other topic there. We got
Alan
time.
Boyd says, "What password manager do you guys use?" I use something called JerkPass.
Yeah, JerkPass. We got to fork Bitwarden into JerkPass.
No, in reality, I use LastPass.
Me too. I am looking at Bitwarden. It's on my to-do list. It's just not on my now list. I bring that up a lot because I really like open source but LastPass was first. LastPass has been well vetted. Only recently,
got all my secrets.
Yeah, and only recently did Bitwarden really go through some strong vetting, but I do like the concept of running it. But once you've got 900 passwords in one system that you're used to using,
and you've shared these passwords with others.
Oh yeah, it's not just passwords. I shared amongst a bunch of people, so I would break a lot of things. Matter of fact, we use LastPass to tie together our clients. If we have to share a website with them, we use LastPass because it's the most secure way to have a shared password with the client. It's not just switching me, it's switching everybody.
I'm convinced. I'm already convinced to get over. And that's already a hard talk is to layman users. Hey, can you please just not do that? Oh, it's so much easier.
Yeah. So just use MD5 with JerkPass. You're good.
There you go.
I think the last one we'll cover before we got to go will be what Opsec.
What Opsec? This is going to be a long one. I don't know if we want to do this one.
Should we skip this one for next week?
Yeah.
All right, we'll do the Dark Overlord. We'll save you. There's a teaser so you guys can read and have some information on it for next week.
Yeah, you guys have probably heard us talk about the Dark Overlords before, and they one of their members actually signed up for accounts that he was using to do extortion, and it was with his personal information. So he got doxxed pretty bad, and it's an interesting read. We'll do a deep dive into it.
That's we'll throw it in the show notes, but we'll bring you up again next week where we'll actually dive into the topic a little more. Like I said, we all have to go pretty soon here, but the what was the last one? We'll just bring it up and mention because I'll throw this in the show notes too. But man jailed for using data breach info leaks claimed
there you go. That's
12 million IRS tax-free funds.
That's awesome. So the reason why I'm super excited about this one, and when I saw it, I had to drop it in there because this guy is doing what we have been saying is going to be happening. We literally have been telling you guys, hey, eventually somebody's just going to go to this breach and assume your identity. Oh, you shouldn't really care about your identity information being leaked because there's already somebody out there plotting and using your identity. This is the guy. They found him. He is actively going to data breaches, downloading the dumps, paying for them however he needs to get them, and he's using that information to be able to leverage his way into better lifestyle.
Yeah. So that's what's going to happen. It's like between the extortionware, like we talked about for the data breaches, using it to do identity theft through fake IRS scams and filing for taxes. And, we got tax season coming up here, and you can start filing. Was it after February 1st is when any resident of the U.S. can start filing. And that's actually it's a race to get your stuff filed first. I can't file till after March 15th because I'm a business. That's the legal. I can't file my returns until then. So once personal returns start filing, the hackers are. It's a race because the first person to file gets a return. The second person raises the question with the IRS, and then they have to figure out how to get your money back.
Right. Wow. Yeah, that's a pretty broken system already.
Yeah. Oh, it's a disaster of a system. So
Ruckus Wireless has 10 critical CVE. Has
uh,
a 10 critical or has 10 criticals?
well, let's look. Ruckus CVE.
I don't even know who Ruckus Wireless is.
They're popular. Yeah, this is a long time ago. I talked about it. I think I did a video on it. It's from forever ago.
Oh.
That I know of, they didn't have any new ones. It's all from a long time ago. They make wireless devices. I don't know of any new CVEs from them. They had a CV a while back.
All right.
So,
Jordan
all right.
I'm not sure what you're talking about, Jordan, but
yeah.
Thank you anyway.
Yeah, because I think I had tweeted it, like the patch, maybe a month ago. They had something that came out. Rocket, so another company, and Ubiquiti, but Ubiquiti never really had it. Well, they did get a CV on the one for the video, but at least the Ubiquiti's on HackerOne, and they paid out, and we talked about that. So,
yeah,
nothing in the wild. So, all right, well, you got to get running to do your thing, and I got to do my thing. And yes, it's wet here in Michigan. I seen Brett from Chittum Consulting drop in here. So,
hey, Brett.
It is flooded here. Whole nother reason not to drive all the way back to my office. I live 3 miles from my office. Xavier's about 15 miles, 20 miles away.
I have no idea. It's like 40 minutes.
It's about because he's in the city and I'm outside the city. It does take about 45 minutes for him to get here. So,
yeah. And plus, I take a very safe route because I've been pulled over, and I don't want that. So
no, you don't want that.
I take a route with very well posted, well known
speed limits,
and I go with the flow of traffic. So I take my time. I probably could get there in 20 minutes, but
nope. Oh yeah, good. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a good idea.
No.
Speeding tickets and insurance are expensive here in Michigan.
Yes.
Well, thank you for joining us for How They Got Hacked. Sorry we couldn't do a really long episode, but we'll dive in and maybe one time when we got a Friday night to really burn, we'll goof off almost longer on here. Maybe even have a demo set up one of these times.
Yeah, especially if we're remote, like I'd be up all night. But this week has been really tough on me. I had a lot of stuff going on. I had a RFP went out earlier this week for a pretty big company, and then I had an engagement start on Tuesday. I had a MySec meeting on Wednesday, which went pretty good. That was our first MySec meeting in Detroit. We live streamed on YouTube, and then I was a part of a MySec panel on Thursday. And I tried to peel myself off the couch for Friday, but I was just dead. It just didn't work. I hit up Tom like, I'm sorry, I can't. My body won't let me. But now I'm off to running even more.
Yep, I know the feeling. All right, well, you have fun, man. I'm going to go finish a few things, and I got some running to do myself. So awesome. You guys will see us next week, unless we come up with something amazing to drop on the channel between then. But
we'll figure it out.
All right, man. Take care.
Later.
Peace.
Peace.